What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today's video is going to be a little different. Instead of actually working on a specific project like the mini drift quad, the mini bike, or even the Miata, we're going to be doing something a little bit different, but it's still kind of related to what we got going on, especially like the small toys and stuff. And it's kind of like preparation for future projects that we have to come. So that's kind of a hint there. We got some projects coming up, but I've really been wanting to do this. So if you remember, we had this once seized Honda GX200 I got on my mini drift quad when I first bought it, and just kind of had it sitting on the side there for a while. It was seized up before, and then we got it running. So if you haven't seen that video, you should actually go check it out, because I think that one was a pretty good one, and it definitely saw some bad stuff that you don't want to see inside of a motor, like rust inside the cylinder wall, nasty oil, water, milk mixture, and just rust everywhere, and it just wasn't pretty. But we tore it all apart, put it all back together, sprayed some starting fluid in it, and got it running. So now that it's actually known as a running motor, I really want to refresh it, make it look the part, because as you can tell, this thing is looking real crusty and nasty. Like, I even put this side cover on there just because it was nasty under there, and I kind of wanted to cover it up a little bit. So we will be painting this up. So the goal today is to actually install a bunch of new parts, kind of just really clean up the block a bunch, paint up the side cover here, and just freshen this thing up 100%. So you can tell I got a bunch of stuff kind of laid out here. So I ended up just picking up like a full carb kit. So on the last video I did on this thing, I kind of just put a carb on it that I had lying around, and it doesn't have any jets in it and not sealed at all. It's just enough to kind of put something on there and restrict the airflow so I can spray starting fluid in it and it's not sitting here at full throttle. So I do have a newer carb for it. It's not a brand new one, but it's a lot better than the one that's on it. So we're gonna get that swapped on, and I got a whole carb kit with a spark plug, just a couple other things like studs, bolts, and all that. Came with a brand new air filter, so we can get that swapped out. And then inside this valve cover here was actually where the water was going inside this motor. So this valve cover is real rusty and nasty in there. So got a brand new valve cover picked up. Those are super cheap, like $8. So I was like, why not pick that up? We could slap it right on there and it'd be nice and brand new. Got another gas tank that I had kind of just lying around in my shed, just because this thing never came with one. So why not slap one on there? And then we can actually have this thing running and idling by itself once we're actually finished up with it. Got a brand new exhaust from my old mini bike over there. This is literally brand new. It has like maybe 2 hours on it. So I was like, why not just swap this out, since this one's all nice and rusty. But picked up some wire brushes, some brake clean, some red paint, because I want to paint the side cover red. Since this is a Honda, I really want to paint the side cover nice bright red, maybe put some nice stickers on it. Got some sandpaper to clean that all up. So we're gonna get to work on this thing. I really want to start tearing this thing down, getting the side cover off, get the intake, exhaust off, get this thing down to pretty much a bare block with just like the coil and maybe a couple wires hanging off of it. Start cleaning this thing up, get it all prepped up, and then we can start sanding down the side cover, getting that all good to go. Maybe start swapping the carb once we get it all cleaned up, and just get this thing 100% refreshed, ready to roll. So whenever we start the next project, we have a solid motor just to swap right on it. We don't have to really touch anything, worry about it, and just a solid little good running that looks good. So that's all I really want to do today. So let's get it knocked out. It should be pretty quick. So I'm gonna get to work tearing this thing down, and I'll catch up with you guys here in a little bit once we're actually ready to start cleaning some stuff up, painting it, and getting her looking pretty. What's up, guys? So it's actually the next day. Last night I ended up just putting the camera down and getting to work on this thing, tearing it down completely, and then I started working on the side covers and a couple heat shields and stuff like that, getting those all prepped up for paint. I know you guys probably don't want to watch me tear down like 6 to 10 bolts as it is and then just sit here with sandpaper and sanding stuff down, but got the motor all tore down, got all the pieces kind of just laid out around here, but everything is looking good so far. Just gotta really clean this thing up. So this thing is filthy. I'm definitely gonna get some nice before and after shots of this, because I always forget to do those, so I really want to do it with this. And then got the side cover all sanded down, even sanded down the heat shield and the governor arm, just because those were looking pretty crusty. So I plan on painting the side cover a nice bright red, just to kind of match the Honda vibes. And then I want to do the heat shield and the governor arm a nice flat black, and then maybe a couple other things if I see anything else I want to paint, get those painted up real quick. So while those are drying, we can clean up the engine real quick, get that all degreased, get everything looking good, and then we can finally reassemble this thing and see it all looking good, and actually slap the gas tank on it, get some gas in it, and hear it idle on its own. I do want to do an oil change on it still. I got to see if I got some oil hanging around here somewhere, but I want to do an oil change on it because if you remember in the last video, this thing was pretty nasty on the inside, so I want to do an oil change after it ran that little bit, kind of get a lot of the stuff kind of flushed out of it because this thing was pretty gunked up inside, had a bunch of rust here and there. So get that all cleaned up and then have fresh oil in it, and then I'll probably have to do another oil change pretty frequently on this thing, at least with a couple, maybe like 2 or 3, just to get it all cleaned out as much as possible. But I'm gonna leave the old valve cover on it for now, just so I don't end up destroying the new valve cover I have in the plastic right there, and then we'll get that swapped on there once the motor's all cleaned up. But other than that, let's get to work on it. Let's see what we get knocked out today, and probably tomorrow will be reassembly day, just so I give this some time to dry. But I'll take a look at the paint, see how quick that dries, and maybe we can reassemble it tonight. But it might be a tomorrow thing, but we'll see what we get knocked out. At least get the motor all cleaned up, get everything prepped up, install the parts that we can, and then it's just literally slapping on all the painted parts and be good to go. So catch you guys here in a little bit. So I just finished up cleaning up the engine. You guys just saw the before and afters of this thing, and it looks way better than it did before. It definitely could take another hour or two just getting in all the little cracks and crevices, but it is way better than I expected, and most of it's gonna get covered up with the side cover, heat shield, stock muffler, intake, and all that. So I'm not really too worried about it. It looks a lot better. Got a lot of the dirt and grime off of it. Now you can actually touch it without getting like super dirty. So I'm pretty happy with it so far, and she's looking good. So now we can actually get all the new components starting to swap on this thing. So I want to get the new valve cover swapped on this, get that old crusty one pulled off of there, get all the rusty components out from inside of the engine, and then I would like to try to do an oil change on it. I'm trying to look around, see if I can find some oil, but I only got like 1/4 of a quart right there, so I gotta go look at my back shed, see if we can do that. I will film that because I'm curious what actually comes out of this motor after doing the first oil change, after it's seized up and running for probably like a minute or so, because I was just running on starter fluid. But other than that, I got some of the black components all painted up. Those are all dried up and ready to roll. So once we actually get the oil change and new valve cover put on there, we can start installing the new black components, get the carb, get the intake and exhaust all swapped on there. We're still waiting on the side cover to dry up. That's gonna take about 12 to 24 hours just because the paint job came out really nice and the paint says 24 hours. So I really wanna kind of let that cure for a little bit longer and try to make it as nice as possible because the paint job came out pretty sweet on it. So I want to hold off on that, but we can pretty much get everything else knocked out. So let's get to work on it and let's finish this thing up. So I don't happen to have any oil at the moment to actually do a full oil change on this thing, but I do want to at least drain it out for right now, and then it'll kind of give me the excuse to not start this thing at all tonight So that's kind of the plan. So I got a little setup going on a chair, so don't mind me, it's going all in a bucket, so that's kind of why. So got the bucket here with the engine up on a chair, and it works. Got a little light so you guys can see what's actually coming out of it. So let's pull this drain plug and see what we got. I don't think it's gonna be too bad, but it's gonna be fresh oil with hopefully some like milky stuff on the top. That's kind of what I'm going for. I really don't want to drop the crush washer in there, so let's hopefully not do that. Ah, not bad, not bad. Definitely has like a little tint to it. Let's crack one of these open. Oh, that thing's tight. All right. It's a good sign. That's kind of showing me that I might not have to do as many oil changes on this thing as I was thinking. But nice, not seeing a bunch of chunks coming out or anything. We'll kind of really tell once we actually get to the bottom, but kind of just hold it here. I did end up getting this heat shield loose too. There's a bolt hiding right up in here, so I'm gonna pop this off as well and get that all painted up, nice flat black, just to kind of clean it up a little bit more. And why not? I'm already here, and it's literally one bolt to pop it right out. I just wasn't sure if I was able to actually get to it. But oil's looking pretty good so far. I'm happy with this. I cannot complain. Oh. Don't fall on me, girl. Alright, I'll cut back if something ends up coming out of this thing. If not, we're gonna just cut to getting the work on this thing, actually installing all the new bits on it, and finish this thing up. I don't think there's any, oh, we got a little chunk coming out there. Got a little grossness. Definitely got some like dirt and rust in there. Ooh, oh, don't fall. Don't want to drop it into the bucket now. That'd be a fun time. Not bad. All right. I'm pretty happy with that. Cool. Put the drain plug back in, and then she's good to go. I'm definitely going to put a little note in my head that this thing does not have oil in it, because the last thing I need to do is lock this thing up again. It was seized before, and the last thing I need to do is run it with no oil. So. Alright, let's get to work on actually putting all the nice parts on this, and I'm going to pull this off and actually get this painted up real quick as well. So I thought I was taking a time lapse of me installing 80 to 90% of all the parts onto the motor and getting it pretty much all finished up. But my GoPro likes to do this weird thing where it'll take a 1-second clip and kind of delete the rest of the time lapse. So lost all that footage, but it is what it is. It's just kind of got to play as it goes. So I ended up getting pretty much everything all knocked out as far as I can tonight. So ended up installing most of the new parts. Got the new exhaust on there, got the fresh spark plug, got the brand new valve cover. You might have saw it in the after shots. I just thought I'd swap that on real quick because it's super easy. And I got the whole carb setup all on there. So I ended up painting this little plate right in between the carb and the head just to make that look a little bit nicer since it was a little crusty. Installed the newer style carb onto it, so that should be good to go. We can actually idle this thing on its own. Got a stock style air filter with a brand new air filter on it, so that's all good. Got the nice painted governor arm with the spring ready to get installed, and then I ended up installing all fresh kind of wiring and a little box for the oil pressure sensor and a new on-off little switch. So I wanted to leave the oil pressure sensor for right now, especially since it has no oil in it, so it kind of stopped me from starting it. But on most of the toys, like the mini bike and the ATV, they do not have a sensor on it, and I kind of wish they did because there's sometimes I run them a little too low, and I think it's kind of bad for it, so I don't want to cut it on this one so as of right now. But in the future, I probably will, especially if it goes on a mini bike. You do one wheelie and the thing wants to cut off. But for right now, pretty happy with this thing so far. We even got the heat shield on the front all painted up, and then it might be kind of hard to tell, but the one on the bottom's all installed and painted up as well. But all we're waiting on is to install the side cover, and then once we install that, we can get the gas tank on there, new fuel line, and throw some gas in this thing. And actually here, idle on its own, I got the side cover in right now, so now you guys can actually see the fresh red paint job. So this thing came out really nice. I'm pretty happy about it. So I'm trying to keep it as good as possible, let it cure as long as possible if I can. So I'm gonna install that tomorrow once we actually get some oil for this thing as well, so we can top up the oil on it, install the side cover and the gas tank, and pretty much be done and wrapped up with this project, refreshing this Honda GX200 that was once seized. So I'll catch you guys tomorrow. I'll probably set you up on a little time lapse in the morning and just finish installing the rest of the stuff, get some oils dropped in it, and then we can finally start it up here idle on its own and just be done with this little side project of getting this motor all cleaned up, refreshed, and then it could just sit on the table for the next project we got going on. What's up guys? So it's the next day. You guys just saw me install the last final pieces onto the motor. Got the side cover, got the gas tank installed, new fuel line, got a new button on there, got all the wiring all hooked up, and everything's looking good. Even added some stickers on there as well. I think the Honda GX200 sticker might be a little too much, so I might rip those off. I'm gonna leave it for right now, just kind of see if it grows on me. Got my little DillPicklesPerformance sticker in there as well, but everything is all looking good. The only two things I'm missing, you can tell I'm missing a pull start on here, so I'm probably just gonna end up starting it up with a drill today, and I'll order up a pull start on Amazon. They're like $5-10 bucks. They're super cheap. And I still need to get a little hose for the crankcase here into the intake. I should be able to pick that up at the local parts store. Just gotta figure out what size that is. But everything is looking good and should be ready to roll. I ran out, picked up some oil, just some cheap oil for this thing, since I'm gonna do an oil change on this thing pretty frequently, try to clean out whatever's left inside this motor. But we should be good to go. I'm gonna toss some oil in this thing, get some gas in it, pull it outside for some beauty shots, because this thing is just looking sweet, and I'm stoked with how this thing came out. And then we can try and start this thing up here idle for the first time on its own, because before I was just spraying a bunch of starting fluid in it to get it to run. And if we can get it idling, we should be able to hear this thing rev up a few times and hear her scream. So let's get it wrapped up and wrap up this video. I got it filled up with gas, got some oil put into it, and we're about ready to start it. Got my drill with the 19 millimeter socket, so we can just spin it right by the crank. Got a little screwdriver so we can tune up the carb a little bit. I'm gonna stay in the garage, just right at the edge of the door, because it is way too hot out there in the sun. So let's see if this thing will run and actually idle. Moment of truth. All right, flip her on. Oh, maybe if I turn the gas on, get some gas inside the carb. Make sure she ain't leaking though, too. Looking good. My drill. Alright, let's see, make sure we're getting gas in there. I didn't put too much in there just in case we had a leak or something. Make sure we're getting gas into the bowl. Alright, we're getting somewhere. Let me just try adding a little bit of fuel into it by the carb. Maybe turning up the idle a little bit. Alright, let's see. Alright, she runs though. That's a good sign. Let's see, maybe add a little bit more fuel into it. see what happens. Oh, alright, she does not like the fuel, it seems like. Pull it out a bit. Let's see, stand on it. Like that. Finally goes. Look at that. That's sick. Not bad. Hell yeah. And she's just idling. Run like a champ. Everything looks good. Hell yeah. Pretty happy about that. Well, probably just gonna let this thing run for a little bit, just warm up, get all that oil flowing. I'll catch up with you guys here in a little bit. So I'm stoked with how this thing runs. This thing runs like a damn champ. I think it ran for like 2 or 3 minutes after that last clip and just sat here idling till it basically ran out of fuel. So everything's good to go, got some heat in it. So I'll probably do another oil change on it in the future. But other than that, this thing came out sweet and it looks amazing. I'm stoked with how this thing came out with pretty much just putting like 50 bucks into it. And especially I got the motor for free when it was all seized up and stuff. So really doesn't take much to clean these little motors up and make them look presentable and actually make them run good. So pretty happy about that. Instead of looking like a crust ball underneath the table, it can at least sit on top of the table now and look pretty, and just wait until we use it for whatever project we do next. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Did a decent amount of work kind of refreshing the whole once seized Honda GX200. So if you guys enjoyed today's video, hope you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more content, and peace out.